Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. It's your host, Rising Oblivion. Today, guys, we're going to be talking about all things Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne HD Remaster. So, I plan on having this be sort of the last final wrap-up video for these couple of different videos that I've done in the past. I did 2 already, so this is planned to be kind of the last one covering the subject of SMT3. Unless something huge, phenomenal happens down the road, I plan on having this kind of be the last sort of wrap-up video. So in this video, I'm going to give you all the good, all the bad, so sit back, relax. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about this game in this one video. But before we quite jump into that, I want to talk a little bit about what this HD Remaster is. It's not just making it look better. It's a little bit more than that. This game actually adds a couple different features to the game that never were there before. So let's kind of cover that. Then we'll go to the good of this, port, or this HD Remaster, I guess you could say, and then we'll also go over the bad as well. So we're gonna have sort of 2 subjects here, but let's go over what the actual HD Remaster does. So yes, it remasters 3D models and backgrounds, which is nice because Persona 4 Golden, even though it's not a remaster, it looks really bad when you scale it up. Sometimes the backgrounds look kind of poopy, they don't look so nice, especially whenever you're in the little shopping district there. The backgrounds don't always look the best, but this is actually going to be giving us a HD remastered background. Same thing with the models as well, which is super nice. I wish Persona 4 got the stream on Steam, but at least SMT3 is going to be having this. It also adds an additional difficulty setting. I covered that in one of the past videos, but I figured I'd include it here as well. Not only that, you get a suspend save function. So beforehand, you were not actually able to save the progress whenever you wanted, but with this game, you're actually able to save at any time you want to. The voice audio can switch between Japanese and English. There's also trophies, Steam achievements, or whatever you want to call it, support for all the different platforms as well. So you can get Steam achievements, you can get PlayStation trophies, and whatever Nintendo has. I don't remember the name of it. There's also trading cards for Steam. Not that a lot of people really do that, but that is an option. So you have all of those different features. It's actually pretty cool, especially the saving function, because I imagined that's probably something they wanted to put in. I think a lot more modern games, especially through Atlas, have a lot of different saving points. If you think about P4 against P5, P4 has a lot less saving points in dungeons. Well, P5, pretty much every single floor, I guess you could say, almost always has a save point, which is pretty nice. So that can either be them trying to catch up to more modern takes on their games, or flat out, they might have thought this game was too hard not to have one. But either way, we have those certain adjustments now brought to the game, and they have those features. So let's first go over the good about this game first. All those are kind of considered good things, but let's go over more of the good things about this game. But let's talk more about retail and where you can actually get this game. So the best thing about SMT3 is the fact that just about anybody can play it. It's on PS4, it's on Steam, it's on Switch. I'm sure a lot of you knew that because of the different videos and all the stuff going on about the news with SMT3, but for the first time an SMT game is not subjugated to being on only Nintendo, which is nice. So hopefully Atlas in the future sees this type of stuff. I'm sure Sega did a lot of this with pushing different IPs, which is why we're having a lot of things like Yakuza jumping over to Game Pass, which leads me to believe that it's probably not such a far-fetched idea if we end up seeing something like SMT3 jumping to Game Pass in the future. I would not put it past Sega to try and do something like that because of how big of an IP Atlas has with all of its different games, with Persona, SMT, Devil Summoner, all these different IPs that they have, Catherine, all these IPs they got, they could easily be bringing those to different types of places. So for the first time, an SMT game is actually almost able to be played on any console currently because of how well they're trying to jump to Steam. If they jump to Steam, how much easier could it have been for them to jump to also to Xbox or something like that? I'm not complaining because I don't even play Xbox, to be honest with you, but I know it would be nice for them to have it as well, and they're just one step away from pretty much releasing it everywhere, and at the end of the day, it's just better sales for them. But let's also talk places to actually get this game. So digitally, of course, you're only going to be able to get it on Steam digitally, but if you want a physical version on Switch or PS4, you're able to get this on Amazon, Best Buy, GameStop, and VGP. If you use VGP, let me know. I think it was a Canadian retailer. I have never ever used it before, but it's available on all those different platforms. But now let's start getting into something that I wanted to talk about for quite a while now. Let's get into the bad stuff about SMT3. So overall, I think this game is going to be great. It's going to be a smash hit. The HD Remaster is probably going to be very good. The trailers we've seen look great. The new features are nice and all, but of course, with every, coin, there's also another side. There's also the bad side of this. So let's talk about the bad things about SMT3. And a lot of this stems mostly from the PC port of the game. So the PC port of the game is going to be using De Novo. I know a lot of people don't like this, and I understand why it's being used because of how much of Atlus's games always get pirated. And it's not just smaller, I guess you can't consider Atlus to be small anymore. It's getting bigger for sure. But you can't consider all, of these places that are making these games, all these different companies making these games, to suspect that they're doing bad things with De Novo, because they're trying to stop their games from getting pirated, which is good and all, but it requires an internet connection to be playing single-player games, and it affects load times, frame rates, and also loading times. Big time with loading times. Loading times end up actually dragging out longer than they're supposed to be. This isn't a very big game, so there probably isn't going to be a lot of load times affected with this. They're probably going to be negligible at best, but it is a trend that is being set. It does stop games from being cracked and pirated, which is good. That's definitely a good thing that is needed there. I think Atlus has a very bad rap when it comes to their games getting pirated, because it's such a hard, IP to pick up sometimes, because you have to either buy a console that's 10 years old or find an emulator or something like that. It makes sense why they're trying to use this, which does suck. And more than likely, SMT3 is going to be locked at a lower frame rate, and it will try to use VSync as well. If you unlock the VSync, you can, in fact, have a higher frame rate, potentially. Not all of them. Persona 5 Strikers was locked at 60, and yes, you could easily just mod it, but you have to go through extra steps, and you don't always know how clearly that is going to be, especially with screen warping and different effects like that. You might be stuck at playing this game at a console level, which does kind of suck, but either way, it's still going to run just as good as anything else would, but you potentially might end up seeing different things where you try to unlock the frame rate, uncap it, turn VSync off, seeing screen tearing or screen warping because of that, which is a minor disappointment. That it kind of sucks that they're doing that. It doesn't seem like Atlus is always the best when it comes to porting their stuff to PC, and believe me, I'm not a console Andy. I really, really want to see this stuff do well on PC, but when it comes to it, at the end of the day, it always doesn't end up turning out the best when it comes to the PC ports. Even Persona 4 Golden had tons of issues. P5 had tons of issues as well. Lower frame rates, they're locked. They can't be unlocked unless you mod them or do something else to deliberately change them, which then ended up having people have screen tearing and more. I have a strong PC. The games have crashed on me. It had nothing to do with my PC, and everybody else has also commented on how bad Strikers was. It can eventually be fixed, but at the end of the day, there are more fixes and crashes and things that had to have been done on PC compared to other things like the Switch and like the PS4. When it comes down to it, they simply had just been easily, brought into those consoles and, just flat out were developed for them, because technically the Steam port is going to be a port of the console versions and then just changed or adapted on that, because we have proof of that, because it comes out in Japan first as a console thing, and then when it comes out to the West, then all of a sudden the PC version of that is adapted and created. At the end of the day, it really just comes down to poor optimization when it comes to the ports of bringing these games over to PC. Now, that doesn't mean that they're always going to run bad, or some people might end up having a case where absolutely nothing happens to them at all. I played Cyberpunk 2077 on my PS4 Pro, which is technically supposed to run worse on smaller consoles like that, and I had absolutely no bugs or anything. So you might end up getting lucky, but every PC is a little bit different, so sometimes you are running a bit of a risk or a bit of a gamble when you get this thing on PC. Like I said, I'm not pushing the console versions. I love it on PC, don't get me wrong, but that just is what it is. And one more thing about the bad side of this game is there are no special editions, no steelbooks, no physical statues or anything like that at all. Not that they're necessary or anything, but there's no special editions for this, which is kind of sad considering how Japan got to have a special edition of this game, but we did not ever get a chance to have it. At least not now. We don't know anything about it. They might pull like a Persona 5 Strikers on this, where they later decide, you know what, let's release the steelbook for the PS4 version and then have it all ship a whole week later. I mean, that did happen. That was a thing. they literally said, you know what, we're not going to tell them anything about the Steelbook for the PS4 version, but we are going to release the Steelbook version for the Switch, have that all pre-ordered. Then people declined. People flat out just said, no, we'll give me my money back, I'm going to buy the PS4 version later, now that the PS4 version has a Steelbook. I've never seen so many tweets or so many people say things like, I canceled my order for the Steelbook version for the Switch just so I could get it on PS4. I found that so interesting and so funny how easily people were just like, nope, not going to get that because of the Steelbook, which makes sense. I collect the Steelbooks as well, but so far from what we know, we don't see any Steelbook, no collector's editions, no special editions for SMT3 Nocturne at all. We don't see anything so far, which does suck, like I said, because of how Japan got to have a special version. Not that it matters a whole lot, the game's still going to be great either way, but I figured I'd include this in here. Like, comment, subscribe for more content, guys. I think that's going to wrap it up. Let me know, what platform are you going to be buying SMT3 on? I'd really like to know. I'm kind of interested to also see how this one goes. It seems like PS4 won over on Strikers, so let me know down below where you're getting this game. But I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.